10 years later, after Sandy Hook, 10 years later, these kids would be learning to drive, learning to kiss, playing soccer, just being alive. Their teachers still teaching, being young when they lived, staying up late, grading papers, worrying about their kids. 10 years have gone by, and those left here still grieve. Bedrooms are left as they were. Pajamas and t-shirts are still packed in drawers, and tiny worn sneakers still rest on the floor. Birthdays and Christmas and this day of the shooting stand on the calendar like circles of fire, which come every year over and over to torture those left with love on their pyre. Grief is the love with nowhere to go. Grief is the ache in the limb that was taken. Grief is the memory now soaked full in sadness. Grief is what's left when our love is forsaken. Comfort might come if we learn something there, if a promise of never again was fulfilled. But in these 10 years later, the gun lobby still wins, and the classrooms still run with blood spilled. 10 years after Sandy Hook, 10 more years of dying, 10 more years of survivors still weeping and crying. 10 years of that industry still churning out guns. 10 years of the gun crowd collecting and buying. They're amassing an armory that nobody needs, of high-cap assault rifles with high bullet speeds, and thousands of rounds of the .223, while child after child is still left there to bleed. In Uvalde, Texas, while the children were slaughtered, the police force stood idle. They left sons and daughters to die in the classroom alone, begging, please stop. From the uniformed men afraid they'd be shot. Comfort might come if we'd learned something there, if a promise of never again was fulfilled. But these 10 years later, the gun lobby still wins, and the classrooms still run with blood spilled. Grief is the love with nowhere to go. Grief is the ache in the limb that was taken. Grief is the memory now soaked full of sadness. Grief is what's left when our love is forsaken.